welcome to an episode of Rediscovered Movies. I'm your host, Nomfanelo Malloy. So, the film that I will be discussing is Bring It On. So, Bring It On is a 2000 sports comedy film. It is directed by Peyton Reed, who's known for directing the Ant-Man films and Yes Man. The screenplay is by Jessica Bendinger, who is known for the film Stick It, which she directed and did the screenplay for. The film stars Kirsten Dunst, Eliza Dushku, and Gabrielle Union. Here is the synopsis. The Toro cheerleading squad from Rancho Carne High School in San Diego has got spirit, spunk, sass, and a killer routine that's sure to land them the national championship trophy for the sixth year in a row. But for newly elected team captain Torrance, the Toros' road to total cheer glory takes a shady turn when she discovers that their perfectly choreographed routines were in fact stolen from the Clovers, a hip hop squad from East Compton by the Toros' former captain. So the film was released in theaters on August 25th, 2000. It had a budget of $10 million. Dollars. It made over $90.4 million dollars worldwide. It opened at number one domestically with over 17.3 million. It beated films including The Art of War, The Cell, and Space Cowboys. In terms of critical reception, it has a 3.4 rating on Letterboxd. It was nominated for two Teen Choice Awards, which were Film Choice Actress for Kirsten Dunst and Film Choice Comedy. At the time of this recording, it is available to stream on Tubi and is on demand, so check your local provider. All right, let's get into First Discoveries. So, I don't remember seeing the promos for this movie at the time, but I do remember I did see this movie. I think it was on TV first. If not, I might have rented it. I don't remember. But I do remember enjoying the movie at the time. Now, I think the first time seeing it was before the the direct to DVD sequel came out in the mid 2000s. So yeah, it was around that time probably I first seen it, and I really enjoyed this movie. I would say it's a fun sports movie, sports comedy movie, and it shows, yeah, that cheerleading is more than just cheerleading, if that makes sense. Like it actually shows that it's a very competitive sport and yeah, I would say it's a fun, good time, not just as a sports movie, but as a teen comedy movie. And also, too, as a 2000s movie, it's quite enjoyable, even though there's some aspects of the movie that have not aged well over time. But I would say, yeah, like it's worthwhile with this movie. So let's get into First Discovery. So as I just mentioned, yeah, I love how with this movie shows that cheerleading is taken seriously. It's shown as a competitive sport. Like there's actual competitions for cheerleading. As Cliff mentioned in the movie, oh, people cheering cheerleaders, which I'll be honest, I did not know that was a thing, but apparently it is, and probably still is to this day. Um, and it's nice to show that outside of the main competing teams in this movie, we show different teams throughout the competition, and yeah, there's a lot of crowds coming to cheer for the cheerleaders, which is interesting. I saw at one point, I think it was during the finals, this old couple was wearing this cheerleading T-shirt. I forgot the name, but it was cute. And I think what Torrance's brother at one point wears a shirt that says "cheerleading equals deaf" or something like that, which is hilarious because, yeah, he's not a fan because of his sister Torrance, and it's cute that they have like this love hate relationship. I guess what happens with siblings. Kind of similar to Missy and Cliff throughout this movie. So, and also too for me, like having a younger brother, I could relate for sure. But yeah, that was cute, and I enjoyed like how cheerleading is taken seriously and all that stuff. Also too, it points out that stealing is bad and there are consequences for that stuff. So essentially, Big Red, who's the head former captain for the Toros, apparently was revealed that she copied the all of the routines that the Toros had from the Clovers throughout the years. And Torrance essentially finds out when Missy discovers watches their routine for the first time at the gym, which led to their confrontation at the parking lot. Then it lead to them taking this little road trip to see the Clovers perform their routine at their high school in Compton. And yeah, like I felt bad like for Torrance because she clearly did not know. Because with her becoming the captain of the team, she really wanted to do right by the team and all that stuff. So yeah, it was just unfortunate that happened. And essentially, because of that fallout, they went through their ups and downs clearly as a team, and also too of Torrance as a captain as well too, as she tries to do what she can to get through it, which does not work out, particularly when found out that the routine that Sparky gave them, another team was using it, which I believe it's illegal for the competition. But yeah, that's that was just bizarre with the whole routine. But yeah, it's just you kind of feel bad for Torrance though because it was out of her control essentially. But she had to do what she can really to try to make the team get to the next round, and luckily she did at the end when they looked through different sources of inspiration, whether it was through the mime, watching movies, seeing different styles of dance, and use that to create their own original routine, which was great to see during the finals. So there's that. After the reveal involving the stolen routines, Courtney did not want to change it. She said, quote, "It's not about cheating, it's about winning." But then she kind of begrudgingly changes her mind. This was after when the Clovers showed up unannounced to the football game where they cheer, and essentially embarrassed them in front of everyone. So I found that was interesting scene with that one, and it was nice though. It kind of comes full circle for her that once when the Toros were announced to be second place winners, she was the first one to cheer, even though even though before she was like, "Oh, we need to get that first place win." So good on her for changing her mind on that. And of course, like with all that stuff aspects of the movie, it brings up the whole cultural appropriation conversations, especially like as the years progress since the movie's release. And yeah, I would say like they're valid points with those conversations. So there's that. But luckily though, with the Clovers, they get their Cinderella story moment, as the film mentions at some point, because despite all like the hiccups that they go through, they're able to win at the end, which I would say is rightfully deserved because they deserve it, especially what they've been through. Even though the movie doesn't entirely focus on them, it was nice that they win at the end. Also too, yeah, I find it interesting that with Torrance and Isis, played by Gabrielle Union, they have like a mutual understanding of each other, even though they're rivals. Because like during the finals, they give each other tips whether they wanted it or not, and yeah, I guess in ways they respect each other, even though they're at different sides of the field. But yeah, I found that was interesting. But yeah, I would say both of them are great captains in their own rights. Like they're both trying to do what they can for their teams despite, their struggles and all that stuff, and they make it work for both of them. The routines. I enjoyed the routines. They were nicely choreographed, and also too the cheers that come along with it are quite catchy. Now, I'm not a cheerleader, so I can't really comment on the in terms of how authentic this movie is and all that stuff. But I enjoyed the routines for what they are, and also too with the cheers. I would say one of my favorite cheers was with the opening sequence. That kind of reminds me of an opening for a musical. Because with that scene, essentially it introduces our characters like from the Toros. Because similar to a musical, with the opening number, it introduces like, you'll introduce the main character, their goals and all that stuff. So an example would be like from Hamilton. If you guys seen the musical Hamilton, with the Alexander Hamilton song is an example of that. But also too with the opening sequence, it kind of foreshadows what's to come for the Toros. So in the dream sequence, Torrance, she is named the new team captain, which she's thrilled until they show her naked in the movie. Not fully naked in the movie, but naked and all that stuff, which is hilarious. But yeah, because at that point in the movie, she's not actually a team captain. But then after the votes, she does end up being team captain, which is nice. Good for her. I enjoyed the whole cast with the movie. I find they're great in their own right. There's a couple I want to highlight. So obviously we have Kirsten Dunst as Torrance. She was great in the movie. I think this was the first adult role that I saw her in, because I remember seeing her like as a kid in previous movies such as Jumanji and Interview with the Vampire. And yeah, like it was great, I would say, for her to mature, to play a mature role in this movie. And clearly for a character, she's going through a lot of stress because, she's trying to navigate her role as the captain of the team, but also to dealing with the stress with her boyfriend Aaron, who's attending college and is often ignoring her calls. Gee, that whole thing with Erin is is messed up. But yeah, she's going through a lot in this movie, and also too dealing with the fallout of the whole spirit stick thing. Like I agree with Missy. Like when Missy said, "Oh, that she's not Jinx," stuff happens. I mean, unless if she really believes in that stuff, which she did, but yeah, like with Torrance, yeah, going through a lot of stuff, and yeah, Kirsten Dunst did justice to the role. Also, too, want to highlight Eliza Dushku as Missy. I really enjoyed her in this. I think this was the first role that I've seen her throughout the first time. I don't remember if it was after when I saw Buffy or if it was reversed, but yeah, around that time, I would say. It's quite unfortunate that apparently, because Elijah Dushku, she has went through a lot personally. If her backstory, where apparently so where she was taken advantage of during True Lies, apparently, and also to when she worked on the TV show Bull. Like those are quite unfortunate to learn about. And then apparently she decided to retire acting to become a therapist. So Good for her. But yeah, back to her character, Missy. Missy is quite, I would say, the wild card. She's obviously like the odd person out. It seemed like ever since her character was introduced on screen, she was being judged, especially by Courtney and Whitney, because I guess of her appearance and didn't really fit the, I guess in their standards, the traditional look of a cheerleader. But yeah, she was fun to watch with Missy. And also, too, I enjoyed Jesse Bradford as Cliff. So essentially, he's kind of like the boy next door, where he's Torrance's love interest, and they kind of have their back and forth. There's the, for example, when Torrance sleeps over, they kind of have their back and forth when they're in the bathroom, which was cute. And Missy asks, like, "Oh, are you into him?" And she says no because she's dating Aaron. Gee, it was quite unfortunate that during that awful routine of Sparky's, she's she blows kisses towards Aaron, but Cliff interprets it as if it was meant for him. Oh boy. Oh boy, and too bad that Cliff learned the hard way and became a set of Torrance under a misunderstanding, essentially. But hey, he was able to get Torrance at the end, so so I guess things worked out for the best. Um, Also, too, I want to highlight Gabrielle Union as Isis. Yeah, I really enjoyed her in this role. This really came at a point for her after when she did teen movies such as She Is All That and 10 Things I Hate About You. So at least here, in comparison to those previous films, she has a more prominent role, and I would say her character has a bit more agency compared to the previous films where she's more like the best friend type of character. It's been a while since I've seen those movies, but yeah, at least she has more to do here with Bring It On. And I would say it's one of my favorite Gabrielle Union performances. Also, too, want to highlight Richard Hillman as Aaron. So, unfortunately, he passed away back in 2009. But but yeah, his character in Aaron was quite the scumbag in this movie. He tries to present himself to be like this lovable boyfriend. We saw when he was picking up Torrance to head to school. Funny. And then essentially throughout the movie, he ignores Torrance's calls, but then apparently did stuff behind her back, such as cheating on her and essentially trying to get Courtney and Wendy to take over her position as team captain. Shame. It's too bad that he was busy fooling around with women on campus, but didn't have the time to spend with Torrance. Shame, shame. Outside of that routine with the Sparky performance, terrible, terrible. And yeah, I do want to mention I totally just realized this, but apparently with the actor, he appeared in Legally Blonde as the college student. If you remember the scene when I guess with Al was sitting in the circle with a few new law students. He was quite funny in that scene, but I realized when I was looking through IMDb, I'm like, oh, that's him in that movie. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. But yeah, it's just too bad that he passed away. But yeah, that was interesting. Also too, Claire Kramer and Nicole Bilderback as Courtney and Whitney. Man, those two were quite the pair. They essentially throughout this movie wanted to hate them, but they're also quite lovable in the movie at the same time as well too. It was funny. I believe it was Whitney. This was after. This was during the whole vote scene at the locker room where Torrance was saying, "Oh, like we need to support Big Red." I can't remember the exact quote, But Whitney's like, oh, we hate her, and she's like, oh, she puts the itch in bitch, which really describes their characters at the same time. And it was hilarious how both of them tried to do this whole hostile takeover thing with Aaron, scheming behind the scenes, but it didn't work out. But then they just managed to, go along for the ride, I suppose. And it was funny. There was that one moment when, during one of the competitions, like this kid cheerleader was went after Courtney, and they had their back and forth. That was hilarious. And also, to lastly, Black, the R&B group, they appeared as members of the Clovers. So they were Shamari DeVoe, Brandy Williams, and Natina Reed, who unfortunately passed away. I think was over a decade ago. So rest in peace to her. I think it was 2012 that she passed away. Too bad. But yeah, I enjoyed them throughout the movie as well. And they contributed the song As If, which was, I believe, was the main single of the soundtrack. The soundtrack itself is not bad, but I really enjoyed the song As If. Kind of catchy with that one. So, yeah, so that's it for the cast I had to say. But everyone, I would say, did a great job in this movie. Um, Sparky. Let's talk about Sparky. Sparky is very blunt. This movie as a choreographer. I don't know how common it is for cheerleaders to use choreographers, but yeah, in this movie, yeah, he's something. He's something. Gee, at one point he told the group that cheerleaders are dancers who've gone retarded. I'm like, what? That's insane though, because if he actually thinks that, it's like, why did he agree to do the choreography for them? Money, seems like it. And he harshly judges everyone, insults them essentially, and makes a big deal about spirit fingers, where they have to be done in a certain way. Otherwise, he'll get very upset. And like his dance was hilarious. I was like wondering like why so much money for that mediocre at best routine. Insane. And then he used a towel. It seems like he goes after Missy a lot. He uses a towel as a whip towards her while they were practicing, and then after when she almost fell, he tells her like, "Oh, essentially, you have to be grateful because at least she didn't crack her skull." He's entertaining, of course, but as a choreographer, do not want to work with him. And what else too? The audition sequence was interesting. It's clear that some of the people that auditioned there are not did not get the memo that it was for the Toros. Like I think one of them, he was doing some Broadway number, but thought that it was audition for Pippin the musical. Because I'm sure like there was probably signs posted there, but it's like some people, I don't know. I don't know. And then lastly, I really enjoyed the end sequence because for one, it was nice to see credits that include bloopers. That seems to be a lost art form in ways. But also too, like with the cast having fun as they're singing and dancing along to a cover of "Hey Mickey" by Bewitched. So yeah, that was quite enjoyable. Okay, let's get into the Lowlights. I don't really have too much to add here. So while I was rewatching this movie on Tubi, I decided to check out the trailer. I think which I've seen before, but I decided to rewatch it for the episode here, and maybe realize that I feel like the trailer showed the whole movie essentially. Plus, to some deleted scenes in there. Now, when I did the episode for Beach Street, I noted as one of my highlights that not highlights, lowlights, that that trailer essentially was mostly deleted scenes, whether that was actual deleted scenes or stuff just shot for the trailer itself. And it seemed like here, with bringing on with the trailer, some of the stuff it seemed like it was just stuff shot for the trailer, or it could be deleted scenes. I don't know. It could be both. Who knows? But yeah, they with marketing they need to do better job with trailers. Also, to a low light, I wondered with Carver, how is she a cheerleader? Because I wonder if she's one of those cheerleaders that just manages to get by. Maybe it's not the main focus; is always in the background. But because of you know, new management and all that stuff, she had to step up. And then clearly, like throughout her throughout her appearance, she kept wobbling a lot, and then ended up tumbling down. And I would say it was nice to see like the POV shot of her tumbling down, but yeah, I just wondered how she's a cheerleader in the first place. I don't know. I don't know. Also too with Missy, so she decided to audition for the Toros despite not being interested, and I just wondered why. Because she mentioned that, because she's a new student at school, um, and said that with this audition was the last resort, because since she's a gymnast and they didn't have, like, I guess, a gymnast program at the school. So I just wondered though, was she forced to audition? It doesn't seem like that's the case, but it's probably implied. But by who? Who knows? Or was it her choice at the end to audition? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that's unclear. But I don't know. It seems like she was kind of forced into it, but who knows? Who knows? I'll leave it up to you to decide. Um, Also, too, the jocks, the football jocks, they were so annoying in this movie. I mean, I get that they're there just to be assholes at the end, but they often just like to poke fun of the other cheerleaders, particularly the male cheerleaders. What? Because they're not seen as manly because they're doing cheerleading, which is just weird. And and yeah, despite with them losing all the time, they still always have time to poke fun at the cheerleaders, even though they should be more concerned about their own performance in the games. And also too, two of them doing that whole loser sneeze when Cliff appears for the first time. I just wonder, like, was that actually a thing? Because if that was an actual thing, that's kind of corny. But yeah, I mean, but I guess if their point was to be annoying, I mean, it succeeded. So Les, who's one of the male cheerleaders, so he is gay. So um, so he told Missy that with Jan is straight, so Jan is into women, while he is controversial. And I just wonder why say controversial. So I'm assuming at the time maybe with people being gay was not accepted at the time. I don't know, but yeah, I mean maybe because I'm looking at it through today's lens, it's obviously being gay is not controversial, but I'm sure others would beg to differ. But yeah, that's all what I had to say for the lowlight section. All right, let's get into trivia. So there was a lot of stuff that came out with this movie. I'm not going to say everything. So the screenwriter Jessica Bendinger, she's a former journalist, music video director. Apparently, she originally pitched the idea for the film, which was then called Cheer Fever, as quote clueless meets strictly ballroom set at the National High School Cheerleading Championships. Saying apparently she was obsessed with cheerleading competitions on ESPN, said the idea combined her love for hip hop and cheerleading. And the film's depiction of cultural appropriation was informed by Bendinger's experiences as a white writer covering hip hop artists at the music magazine Spin, which was a predominantly white publication. And Benninger said, having seen white kids emulating hip hop moves at those cheer competitions, I thought, well, what if? I started asking what if questions until I got to what if the best team in the country had been stealing their routines? What if that squad they'd been stealing from finally came to show up and compete for their crown? Interesting. Also, too, Marley Shelton apparently was originally cast as Torrance, but she opted to do Sugar and Spice, another cheerleading themed movie where she plays a cheerleader captain. Interesting. And then, but Gabrielle Union, she auditioned for Sugar and Spice, but wasn't cast in that movie. Interesting. Also, too, according to the National Federation Interscholastic Spirit Association, many of the stunts the teams perform in the national competition, including flyovers, basket tosses with head over heels rotation, and stunts more than two bodies high, are illegal at the high school level. Alrighty. And then the Toros and Clovers cheerleaders' uniforms show the midriff, which is strictly forbidden on high school competitive teams. That's good to know. Um, Apparently, while editing the film, the director Peyton Reed and editor Larry Bach watched cheerleading exploitation films from the 70s. The movie clip shown to the cheer team during the types of dance inspiration montage is from Sweet Charity. Interesting. So, so apparently, Bring It On. There's a lot of direct to DVD or video sequels and a TV film sequel. So the sequels are Bring It On Again, which came out in 2004, and then Bring It On All or Nothing, that had Hayden Panettiere and Solange Knowles. And then we have Bring It On In It to Win It, and then Bring It On Fight to the Finish. That was with, I believe, Christina Milian. And then there's Bring It On Worldwide Cheer Smack that came out 2017. And then the latest one, Bring It On, Cheer or Die, that came out in 2022. Now, I've seen all of the sequels except for Cheer or Die. Because when I heard the premise for the Cheer or Die, it seemed like they were trying to do something different, but at the same time, kind of feels like it's like a SNL sketch or something. But who knows? Maybe it could be entertaining. But yeah. And then also too apparently a stage version of the movie called there was called Bring It On the Musical. So the music was done by Lin Manuel Miranda and Tom Kitt. The lyrics was by Amanda Green. The book by Jeff Whitty, and then that premiered at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, on January 16th, 2011. So apparently, during an interview on Entertainment Tonight at the New York premiere of Roofman, Kirsten Dunst mentioned that she's not interested in returning to the role. She says, quote, "No, I'm like, leave good things where they are. I don't need to put on a cheerleading outfit. I don't even know what I would do, be a coach or something. Nah, let's leave it as is." I mean, I could see her point though, because if you plan to do a sequel, you want it to be worthwhile, essentially. But then the sequel will always be compared to the first movie in terms of quality and all that stuff. So there's always big expectations, for sequels in general. But I don't know. I don't know if there was a story worthwhile. I think they should explore it. But yeah, I can see both sides to the equation. And then recently, Alamo Draft House, they hosted the 25th anniversary Q&A that featured Kirsten Dunst, Gabrielle Union, Jesse Bradford, and Lindsay Sloan. So that was moderated by Amanda Dobbins of The Ringer and the Big Picture podcast. And also, too, I want to highlight two books. So the first book I want to mention is screenwriter Jessica Bendinger. She published this book called The Bring It On book, which I have here. So essentially, this is like a screenplay, like how to essentially, and includes commentary on her final draft, which is included in this book. So, if you want to learn about screenwriting, I would say this is very helpful and provides a lot of tips, especially in screenplay format, which is nice. So, I got this book through a contest, I believe, with Final Draft, along with the t shirt I'm wearing, the Clovers t shirt. And yeah, and I'll show like here. It's signed on the cover here by Jessica Benninger, says right on. Yeah, there's a lot of helpful stuff I would say in this book, so I highly recommend it. So even if, let's say, you're not interested in screenwriting itself, it's just helpful to learn, I would say, the ins and outs of the screenplay itself. And then another book I wanted to highlight is Case Wickman. She published a book that came out in 2022 called Bring It On, the complete story of the cheerleading movie that changed like everything. No, seriously. So essentially, it provides like info on the making of the movie, but also to the legacy of the movie. It includes interviews with the cast and crew involved, but also to people, I guess, that are either fans of the movie or analysts and all that stuff. So I would say both books are worthwhile. So I recommend you guys check those out. All right, lastly, should this movie be rediscovered? And I say absolutely yes. Because if you love cheerleading, you'll love this movie. If you love sports movies, teen movies, recommend this one to you. And yeah, there's a lot of cool tidbits, I would say, with this movie. So check it out if you haven't done so already. All right, so that pretty much concludes this episode of the podcast. So you can find me on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, and Linktree at Nomfanelo. You can also find the podcast on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, and Linktree at RD Movies Pod. Visit buymeacoffee.com/RD Movies Pod to support the podcast via donation and to look at exclusive posts there. Join the Rediscovered Movies Hub, which is our community group on the official Wix website, which is rdmoviespod.wixsite.com/official, where you can interact with others, share thoughts on the podcast, and more. On Spotify, you can answer the feature poll, leave a comment, and rate the podcast. You can leave a review and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and Podchaser, and submit questions, comments, and suggestions by email, which is rediscoveredmovies@gmail.com, or you can fill out the contact form on our link tree to be featured on a Q&A episode, which will air after the end of the season. All right, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.